Memorial Day, of course, is a day for many memories. And we were spending a lot of time talking about those that have gone before us and those that have served since their own military service. My own memories go back to almost every war that the United States has had. And I think particularly the man for whom I was named was shot and killed in a battle in Virginia during the Civil War. My own great grandfather received the Congressional Medal of Honor for his heroism in Vicksburg, but he was finally shot in the Battle of Atlanta. I think about all of the others that have gone on and gone before us. My own hero is standing here with me now, and I would just like to, you have in front of you your program, a short synopsis of her military service. And KUED, a few years back, did a documentary which many of you have seen, and many come up to us, see her in her uniform that she wore when she was in the service 72 years ago, and they compliment her on her statements about her service. I'm just going to give you a few highlights because you have that record in front of you. There's just a slight revision to that paper that you have in your program. We met at Fort Lewis, Washington, as it says, but we were married in the Salt Lake Temple. Another thing in there, it says that we had 54 grandchildren, and that's correct, but we have 135 at the last count. Number of great grandchildren. As you notice in the write-up, that she was 57 days on board troop ship, headed with her hospital to Okinawa. The battle was still raging in Okinawa, and they landed in the dark. She went over the side of the troop ship on a net ladder, and in total darkness. The LST took them to land, and they put them in Army trucks and took them to their new campsite in total darkness. The battle was still going on in Okinawa at the time, and you could hear the shells firing constantly. She volunteered to go to the front lines into a unit much like the Korean War MASH units that you all are acquainted with. And she served there for 12-hour shifts, taking care of the casualties from the battle. After her hospital was set up, finally she was with a unit that took care of the prisoners of war that had been released from the Philippines. And the Japanese snipers were still around in her hospital. And in fact, one of them came into the hospital one night, starving and looking for food, and he was surrounded by the guards, and before they could capture him, he committed suicide by letting off his own grenade. Just a few highlights of what is not mentioned in there. After the war was over, the atomic bombs pretty well ended the war. Her hospital was still in Okinawa, and they were taking care of course, of the POWs and others around there in Okinawa, which is a big island south of Japan. Her hospital was transferred to Japan, and there they were serving in a new hospital. A hospital that was set up in an old Japanese hospital to take care of the POWs there that were American POWs that had been brought in from Bataan in the Philippines. The survivors in there were put in the coal mines, literally starving to death, and until they died, they mined coal. And she talks about the survivors that the American Army rescued, and that they were so in such bad shape when they came that they had to be fed like babies, spoon by spoon. Those soldiers were finally put on board ship and sent home. The POWs were sent home. Now, she was released from her military service because she was married. And the single sisters, nurses and others, the women in the service, had to stay for a while. And my service was in India, and they kept me in the Army almost a year after the war was over. So I would like to have her just tell us a little bit about her last days in coming home.
The flight home took 4 days in Army transport planes because we had to land, refuel, and change planes along the way. We stopped in Guam, Kwajalein, Johnston Island, Hickam Field in Hawaii, and finally Hamilton Field near San Francisco. Our seats were not cushioned, but no one complained. We were going home. It was nighttime as we neared California. We were straining to see something familiar, and we recognized the lights of the Golden Gate Bridge, and the tension began to build. Then, along the coast, spelled out in lights, were the words, "Welcome home, well done." As long as I live, I'll never forget the joy of that moment. I couldn't stop my tears. My emotions overflowed at the relief to be home and safe at last. The luxuries of this country of ours were almost overwhelming. When I turned a tap on, and a never-ending stream of water came forth, and the convenience of American plumbing, the abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh cold milk, I never before appreciated these things. I doubt if they seem wonderful to you. In all the years since then, whenever I hear the Star-Spangled Banner or other patriotic songs, and I see the stars and stripes of our country's flag, my heart is full, and I get a lump in my throat. I know this land is choice above all others. I love